What time is it? Game time!
It's gonna be special. They're gonna talk about this forever.
Welcome to American Football Stories.
Puts his head down, crashes and spins, and dives. Touchdown!
Bringing together the many perspectives that make up college football in the NFL.
Football is one of the greatest sports ever invented.
From players and coaches.
Believe, baby, believe, baby.
Hey, we playing to win right here, fellas.
To the front office and scouts.
The public is finally beginning to catch up, but they don't even know half the truth.
Us against the world, let's get it.
Your hosts, Robert Parker and Nick Knudsen, bring you American Football Stories.
Welcome to the American Football Stories podcast, brought to you by Coach Paint. Today is November 23rd, 2020. I'm Nick Knudsen here with my co-host Robert Parker, and we're going to break down this week's college football games, the select few college football games, plus Week 12 of the NFL, and give you our picks tonight. It's a little bit early. It's Thanksgiving week. Rob and I, we got some different things going on this week. We wanted to get an episode out for everyone. This is not the year to do an early episode, is it, Rob? With COVID, we don't know what games are going to be canceled, not be canceled, but we wanted to at least do something to get it out there this week.
Yeah, you're right about that, Nick. I think as we speak right now is some games going down in the pipe that might be canceled or postponed. But we would definitely get the word out on those games, moving forward.
Yeah, and as we saw last week with Clemson and Florida State, these games, we could pick them all we want on Wednesday, and who knows what will be canceled between Thursday and Saturday anyway. We're canceled with the Clemson-Florida State game hours before kickoff, and it's hilarious. There's a little backlash on that going on with Florida State right now. You've been following that today?
Yeah, I have. I saw the back and forth with Dabo and, Mike Norvell going at it. And yeah. I think Mike Norvell kind of summed it up, perfectly, where he says, none of us are doctors, so we kind of have to go with what they say. So I think that was kind of a mic drop on, Mike Norvell going against Dabo in that regard.
It's good to see Mike Norvell get an ACC win this year. He hasn't had many, so it's good to see Mike Norvell getting the W column this year. He's had a tough season, but hey, pick a fight with Dabo Swinney. Dabo's running his mouth a little too much about your school. Way to stick up for yourself, Mike. That's going to score your points with the fan base. I like it. I like it. And they offered to play December 12th. I'm sure Clemson's going to be wanting to trot down to Tallahassee the week before an ACC title game to go do that again, huh?
Yeah, I highly doubt that.
Yeah. So Dabo, you run your mouth. Cut it out, man. Cut it out. Florida State, they got people to pay. They're not looking to dodge games. As much as you and I, as Gators, would like to, any free shot at Florida State is a fun one to take at times. I can't get down with this one. I gotta side with Florida State on this issue.
Yeah, you kind of have to. I mean, just because of the climate that we're in, with the whole COVID and the pandemic, and players playing, testing positive, you never want to put any other player in jeopardy. So I think Florida State kind of did the right thing in this regard, as far as not playing at all.
But even if there's things to pick at, just again, Dabo. You don't need it. Just cool it, bro. Cool it. Anyway, let's get on to the games we do know are canceled. San Diego State at Fresno State's canceled. Washington State, the Apple Cup. No Apple Cup this week. Rob, we heard some rumors out there that Washington may or may not. Bruce Feldman reported that Washington reached out to BYU, and BYU did not jump all over their offer about playing this weekend.
Yeah, I think that was definitely a mistake on BYU's part. If that, report was to be true. I think BYU needs to hop on any, games that they can kind of hop on to kind of bolster their schedule to make a college football playoff run. So if that report is true, I think BYU kind of missed the mark on that one.
Yeah, that'd be severely disappointing if true. And if Bruce Feldman's saying it, I do give it credence, because Bruce Feldman's the man. Stuart Mandel sent out a tweet about half an hour ago tonight. It's on Monday night here. The SEC just sent out a dizzying release full of dominoes. Let's try to follow. Missouri and Arkansas is off this Saturday. Mizzou will play Vandy instead. Vandy was supposed to play Tennessee. Tennessee is now idle. UT and Vandy will be rescheduled for the 12th or the 19th. Okay, cool. So no Tennessee, Vanderbilt, no battle for the state of Tennessee this weekend. We were actually going to talk about that one at the end of the pod. That one's obviously now off, so no worries about that. So Missouri, Vandy, and I can't wait till next season where hopefully we are at a point in our lives where we are not talking about college football game like their dinner plans with people we don't really want to get together with.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a weird season, a weird year. Once again, we were just like you said, Nick. We were definitely going to talk about the Tennessee and Vanderbilt game, but that's off the table right now. So that's just the type of year that it is. You just kind of have to roll with the punches. But we might not get the Battle of Tennessee, but we are getting the Iron Bowl. So we're definitely going to talk about that.
Yes, sir. All right. Thanksgiving night on Thursday. We got Colorado State going to Air Force, or really that's at 2 p.m. So that's right in the middle of the day. Colorado State at Air Force will be your college football filling for Thanksgiving in the afternoon. And at 7 p.m., Utah State hosts New Mexico. It's all the Mountain West football you didn't ask for, but you're getting on Thanksgiving. Friday, November 27th, a lot more football going on at noon. Iowa State travels to Texas. The Cyclones are fresh off a beatdown of Kansas State, 45-0. Still surprised by that score. Texas, though, didn't impress Vegas because Texas is still a 1.5-point favorite, -125 in the money line, and the over-under is sitting at 57. Rob, this Cyclones team is all over the place. I feel like every time I pick them, they burn me. Every time I pick against them, they burn me. I'm going to let you lead off on this one and sit back for a moment.
And I'm gonna definitely lead off, and I'm definitely not gonna pick either one. This is a coin flip game to me. As you can see, the line, is right there. It's kind of evenly matched game. So one thing that I'm confident in taking in this game is definitely the over. We know, the Big 12 doesn't really play a lot of defense, and its points can be put up on the board. So I like the over in this one.
Even with that Iowa State defense that just shut out Kansas State.
Yeah, I think, that was probably an anomaly with when we talk about shutouts in the Big 12. I really think Texas is a offensive team. Normally, their strength is supposed to be on the defense side of the ball, but, they lost a lot of key pieces on that side of the ball, but I think they can definitely put up points. So I'm definitely going to roll with the over on this one.
I'm going to take Iowa State at +1.5. I've showed a lot of faith in Texas, and they burned me a lot. So I'm okay. I expect to be burned by Iowa State. I don't expect to be burned by Texas, and so it hurts me more when Texas does burn me. So I'm gonna just hold a grudge, and I'm gonna pick Iowa State, and that's really my entire logic behind that. I think Iowa State's also played better football for the most part this year. This Texas team, they're certainly capable of winning coin flip games to right turn. UMass at Liberty at noon on Friday, 12:30. UAB hosts Southern Miss. Iowa hosts Nebraska at 1 p.m. on Fox. I was looking forward to breaking down that game, but I crossed it off our list, Rob, after the total beatdown Nebraska took at the hands of Illinois this weekend. No need to talk about that game anymore. Let's talk instead about the 3:30 clash between Notre Dame at North Carolina, the Fighting Irish, number 2 in the country at the number 20 Tar Heels. Irish are favored by 4.5 points, -180 on the money line, and the over-under is at 66. Hey, I've been a Notre Dame doubter this entire season. I was high on North Carolina in the preseason, but I also was a little worried that maybe this was a year too early to hype up UNC. I like what the Tar Heels are developing into. I definitely don't think they're ready for the Notre Dame for Notre Dame on the defensive side of the ball. I do think they will put up points though. So I like Notre Dame's defense, but I think North Carolina's Sam Howell will find ways to score. But I don't see them stopping Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame might win this one by 2 touchdowns. But I'm also a little nervous that Sam Howell's going to go off and have an incredible game. So I'm going to go conservative here and just go Notre Dame on the money line.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think, Notre Dame is on a clear shot path to the college football playoff. But don't get me wrong. I think this North Carolina team can definitely upset Notre Dame, but I just don't see it happening this week. I know reports kind of came out, today that, Notre Dame might be without 2 offensive linemen. So that might hurt them in the running game, but I think their defense is going to make up for that. And yes, Sam Howell can put points up on the board, but I think Notre Dame's defense is definitely going to create pressure and gets to Sam Howell. So I can see Sam Howell throwing, maybe 3-4 touchdowns, but I can also see him throwing, 2 to 3 interceptions as well. So I like Notre Dame on the money line in this one.
All right, so we're both going Irish on the money line. UCF goes to Tampa to play USF at 3:30 on ESPN. Wyoming at UNLV 4 p.m. on Friday. Stanford at Cal. It's rivalry week. It feels so weird to see all these rivalry games, even though we're at the appropriate weekend to see them. It just feels like some of the Pac-12 just showed up 3 days ago, and Stanford and Cal are playing. So weird. Oregon State too. 4 p.m. Fox. That's the Stanford Cal game. Central Michigan travels to Eastern Michigan. 4 p.m. CBS Sports Network, and then the 7 p.m. time slot. I know I'll be watching this one Friday night because I haven't really got a zone in. I've been checking in on them, but I haven't done a total zone in on the Oregon Ducks. I think this will be a good chance for them to make a playoff case to the nation. Friday night, you'll be the standalone game at 7 p.m. on ESPN, playing your rival Oregon State, who's a fun team who could put up some points. If the Ducks put them away and put them away good, I think that's going to be a strong enough case for the playoffs on top of, going undefeated and winning the Pac-12 championship. Obviously, you got to follow through, but make a good impression on people here. Oregon is a 14-point favorite, minus 550 on the money line. The over/unders at 64. That's a high number for me, Rob. I'm going to let you start off on this one though.
Yeah, I think Oregon is definitely going to take this game easy, but Oregon State definitely has a great piece that they can kind of lean on to kind of make the game competitive, and that's in running back Jermar Jefferson. And I think Mario Cristobal knows well about the kid. He's just an all-around back that can make plays out the backfield, but I think this Oregon defense bottles him up, and they cover the spread. So give me Oregon with the spread in this one.
So you got Oregon covering 14. I'm going to go opposite of you. I think this Beavers team, they certainly should have no problem. Oregon certainly should have no problem covering the spread, but this Beavers team, they always tend to play Oregon pretty tough. It's usually, it's big time rivalry game with the Civil War, even though I think they're trying to get rid of that terminology. Great name for a rivalry though, but they're trying to get rid of that, I think. But this game is always a little unpredictable, a little wacky. I'm going to say Oregon State covers the 14, but definitely good chance for Oregon to make a case this week. All right, Saturday, November 28th. Let's go to the noon time slot on FS1. Ohio State travels to Champaign-Urbana to play the Illinois Fighting Illini. The Buckeyes are 4-touchdown favorites at minus 28, minus 2,800 on the money line, and the over/under is at 75.5 in this one. I think that's an outrageous number. I'm not sure Illinois. I know people are going to be low on that Buckeye defense after last week's performance, but 70.5, that you're counting on Illinois chipping in on some of that. And I think Ohio State, they might focus on getting the running game going a little bit this week, making sure Justin Fields plays a clean game. I thought he forced it a little bit at times last week, just trying to make a play. The guy's a playmaker, nothing wrong with it. Just made a few mistakes. That's all. So I think he's going to focus on playing a real clean game this week, a little more conservative than what we saw out of him last week. And I think that defense is probably going to clean some things up against a passing offense that's not nearly what we saw out of Indiana last week. Give me the under at 70.5.
Yeah, I definitely like that pick, but I think I'm going to take Ohio State with the points. I think, Indiana is a great team, but I'm pretty sure Ryan Day has took the guys back in the locker room and said, hey, we're better than what we displayed. Justin Fields kind of, turned the ball over to kind of keep Indiana in the game. And we already know about that Ohio State defense, especially in the secondary on the back end. They haven't really lived up to the bill. I know Shaun Wade came up with a big-time interception, as well as he should, because he's a high draft pick that's coming out after this season. But I think Ohio State gets it done on both sides of the ball, on the offense and the defense side of the ball. And I think Justin Fields is just too much for that Illinois team. And, they going to come out on fire and they're going to cover. So give me Ohio State with the points.
What do you think about Illinois after that nice win at Nebraska last week? You think they got what would you see from Illinois in that game?
Once again, great win against Nebraska, but not so much. I think this Nebraska program has kind of been down the last couple of years, and their Illinois is definitely clawing back. It's a great win for them and Lovie Smith. But once again, they're playing ball on both sides of the playing good ball on both sides of the ball, on the offense and the defense side of the ball. And their transfers are stepping up. I know one of the big time receivers that they have, you're definitely a fan of, and Josh Amadabebe. He came up pretty big. So I think, the transfers is working out in Lovie Smith's, system, and the fact that he can, kind of recruit for the scheme that he wants. So I think Illinois is showing promise, but I think it all comes to an end this week against Ohio State. I think they get ramshacked by Ohio State and Ryan Day.
Ramshacked. All right. I like it. I like it. All right, let's go down to the SEC East. Kentucky versus Florida. Not a rivalry that's close in terms of the wins and losses, but definitely the play on the field is been close over the years. The Gators are 24-point favorite in this one over a Wildcats offense that just can't score. Minus 1,900 on the money line, and the over-unders at 58. I'll tell you what, Rob, trusted the Gators last week. I took the big number at minus 31.5 against Vandy, and I got burned. So I'm a little hesitant to take the big number again. I know you're saying the juice isn't worth the squeeze. Minus 1,900, it's almost embarrassing to pick it, but I'm just going to go Florida on the money line, even though I think they're fully capable of covering this week with the horrible Kentucky offense. I just don't want to double down and get it wrong again. So I'm going to just go with the easy one here and go Florida on the money line.
Well, I'm gonna go to hard route for you, and I'm gonna take Florida to cover. and the reason why I say that is because they do get the one and only Kyle Pitts back in the lineup, and I think that in itself and it's alone in itself, I think Kyle Pitts is a walking 2-touchdown machine on any type of Saturday. So that's 2 touchdowns right there, and not alone the other weapons that the offense has on that Florida side of the ball. But I think Florida's defense gets back on track. I think, you take away the big play that they had with the missed tackle against Vanderbilt, and that takes a touchdown off the board. So I think the Florida defense is getting better, but they definitely have to limitize the big plays that they're giving up. So Kyle Trask, he only threw for 3 touchdowns this previous week. I think he throws for at least 4. So give me Florida with the cover. So
as a Gator fan, and this is where I should have been smarter last week with that 31.5-point spread. That Vanderbilt and Kentucky are often games where Florida does not show up with its best stuff, right?
Yeah,
talk about that phenomenon. Talk about that phenomenon to people who don't follow Florida closely. Like, why is the Kentucky game always something that Florida comes out with? Like, oh man, it's not really ever a satisfying game, is it?
Well, at least not the last, at least 4 or 5 years. It's
even go back to Spurrier. Some of Spurrier's teams needed last minute wins against them. I mean, it's been like that forever with Kentucky.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It just seems like, Kentucky is one of those teams, even though they broke the streak a couple of years ago against Florida, beating them every year.
32-game win streak.
But they've always played, Florida pretty tough, just like Vanderbilt. But I don't know. For some reason, it just seemed like, they have Florida number, but I think it's a little bit different this year. We've seen what Kyle Trask did to Kentucky when he came in last year. And I think he has that confidence, and it rolls over, and he throws for at least 4 touchdowns this week. So I really like Florida to cover in this one.
They just ugly the game up every single time almost. It's like every once in a while Florida crushes them, blows them out. But for the most part, it's an underperforming game where you walk away more frustrated than pleased. Even if you win by 20, sometimes it's not always pretty performance. All right, Maryland at number 12, Indiana. Noon on ESPN2. I think Indiana won a lot of respect in the hearts and minds of college football fans everywhere with that performance in Columbus last week. But it's like we said on this podcast in our episode that was released this morning, hey, it was kind of an ugly game. Indiana made a lot of mistakes. They definitely can perform a little better than what we saw in Columbus. So, and that's showing respect. That's not picking at Indiana. That's saying like, hey, I know you got a little more in the tank. So we see a Maryland team coming off a couple COVID cancellations here, back on the field. Taulia, I need to say that name by the end of the year. We keep saying Baby Tua all the time on the side, so I never learned how to say his name. But I believe it's Taulia. Tagovailoa goes for Maryland. This Maryland team was cooking. I mean, we've only seen them play 3 games. One of them, they got blown out, but the other 2, they looked pretty good. I'm a little surprised that this is double-digit spread in this one. That's a lot of respect for Indiana. I definitely think the Hoosiers can win, but I'm going to go with the over. It's Indiana's minus 11.5 point favorite, minus 450 on the money line, and the over-unders at 62.5. Give me the over at 62.5 in this one. I think there's going to be a lot of points, a lot of fireworks in this one.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you. I know Maryland's kind of been off the last couple of weeks dealing with COVID cases or whatever. But I think they have a high-power offense, and they can definitely put points up on the board. And same thing with this Indiana team. I think, Michael Penix, he showed you what he could do against Ohio State defense. And I think, that's just, the tip of the hat. He's going to continue that on for the remainder of the year. So I think this is going to be a high scoring game. So I definitely like the over in this one.
All right. The over at 62.5 as well. All right. Let's stay in the noon time slot on Saturday. Texas Tech goes to Oklahoma State, Tulsa at Houston, Northern Illinois, Western Michigan, Bowling Green at Ohio, Kent State at Buffalo. Maction playing on Saturday, huh? That doesn't happen a whole lot anymore. Penn State at Michigan, noon, ABC. This game doesn't really deserve to be talked about, but hey, it's the train wreck we all can't look away from. Michigan's the 2.5 point favorite over the Nittany Lions, minus 130 on the money line, and the over-unders at 58.5. Rob, we saw a desperate Michigan team find a way with Cade McNamara at the quarterback position. I'm telling you, Michigan just looked like a different team when he took over in that game against Rutgers. They were down 17-0. Like we said in the podcast yesterday, it's Rutgers. Yeah. But 17-0 is still a nice comeback no matter who you're playing. At Penn State, I just haven't seen it. We saw them play Indiana heads up, but since then they haven't brought it. And I actually thought they would play Iowa pretty well last week. That wasn't the case. So I'm a little nervous about Penn State. We're getting what we're getting out of Penn State this week. Whereas I think McNamara comes in. Maybe Michigan's got a little extra juice this week. I'm going to take the Wolverines at minus 2.5, but I'm definitely not confident in it.
Yeah, I'm definitely not confident in this one. Once again, I don't think anyone's confident in this particular game. This probably might be the worst Penn State-Michigan matchup that we've ever seen. And you can see that from ex-players such as Michael Parsons. After that loss that Penn State suffered last week, he kind of tweeted something out on his Twitter handle, and he was just like, wow. And it was just like, shaking his head. So I think, not only are the people within the program is surprised at how the Penn State, Nittany Lions are playing this year, but definitely the fans. I think Michigan gets a win. I just don't see them, they got to win against Rutgers in overtime. Just think about that, Nick. Let's just take a breath and just think about it took overtime for Michigan to beat Rutgers.
A few of them.
That is saying a lot about the state of this Michigan program right now. But I do think, they get another win under their belt and they beat Michigan. So give me Michigan on the money line against Penn State this week.
Michigan on the money line. All right, let's go. A lot of noon games this week. Ball State at Toledo, SMU at East Carolina, Louisiana Tech at Florida International, Georgia Southern goes to Georgia State, NC State, who knocked off Liberty, goes to Syracuse, who was one of Liberty's victims earlier in the season. That rescheduled Arkansas, Missouri. Well, Arkansas, Missouri is now off, right? That was the one. Yeah. So Arkansas, Missouri was supposed to be at noon. That's now off. I assume the Vandy game will go in that time slot, but they didn't announce the time on that from what I saw. Let's go to the 1 o'clock hour. UTEP at Rice, Miami of Ohio at Akron, Florida Atlantic at Middle Tennessee State at 1:30, 2 p.m. Minnesota, Wisconsin, the Big Ten Network. Coastal Carolina goes to Texas State, tries to keep its unbeaten season alive, 3 p.m. Louisiana at Louisiana Monroe, 3 p.m. In continuing in the 3 p.m. hour here, North Texas at UTSA, South Alabama at Arkansas State, and in 3:30 on CBS, we get the Iron Bowl, Auburn at Alabama. Alabama's 24.5 point favorite, minus 2,200 on the money line. The over-under is at 61 in this game. And I'll tell you what, Rob, this Auburn team has had some disappointing moments, but they've picked it up since that South Carolina loss, and they're definitely playing some better football. We saw them fight with that Tennessee team last week, but I for whatever reason they get up. They play a little better against Alabama a lot of years under Gus Malzahn. They've probably been. He's probably had some of the most success against Nick Saban outside of Dabo Swinney in the country against Alabama, even though the record's not all that awesome. But 24.5 seems like a lot to give up in this one. Already chickened out and took an easy money line with Florida. So I'll tell you what, I'll go with the over in this one at 61 because I think this is going to be a shootout, a lot of points scored. I think Alabama definitely has a shot to cover. I'll say that. I don't think it's unquestionable, but I see this one ending up somewhere in the neighborhood of like 45-30.
Yeah, I'm definitely opposite on you with this one, with this pick, Nick. I'm gonna go with Alabama to cover, roll tide. I think they're a machine and they're unstoppable right now, probably until they get to the SEC championship. With Florida on the other end of that, and then if not, then the college football playoffs with Clemson and Ohio State. I just think it's no one that can really stop Alabama right now. And I know the Iron Bowl is always a tough matchup, it's a rivalry game. But I think Bo Nix is not ready for this Alabama defense, and Mac Jones is just a better quarterback. So I'm gonna go with Mac Jones in this one, and that Alabama offense with Devontae Smith and Najee Harris. And I think Nick Saban coaches up on the defense side of the ball where they kind of limit Auburn to make some plays. So give me Alabama with this one on the spread, Nick.
All right, let's go back to the ACC here. Clemson hosts Pittsburgh, 3:30 ESPN. Tigers are 24-point favorites, minus 1,900 on the money line. The over-unders at 54.5. I'm not even going to blink twice. Pittsburgh shocked me last week with a 47-14. Was it 47-14, I believe, win over Virginia Tech. Came out of nowhere. We've certainly seen Pittsburgh back in Nathan Peterman days upset Clemson. But I'll tell you what, this Clemson team, this Trevor Lawrence's first game in about a month, they're all riled up about that Florida State game. I think this is going to be an angry Clemson football team looking to make a statement and do some damage on Saturday. I mean, I think we might be looking in the neighborhood of 60 points for Clemson. Give me Clemson to cover with the 24 points. What you got, Rob?
Yeah, I'm right there with you, especially with Dabo kind of running his mouth and kind of getting the guys riled up. Missing the game against Florida State. I think they're going to take it out on Pittsburgh, and I definitely don't think it's going to be pretty. So give me Clemson with the points in this one.
Big Ten West leader, Northwestern, number 11, Northwestern Wildcats. Dude, they're in the playoff hunt. Northwestern is in the playoff hunt. Just got to repeat that again. It's the end of the season, and we're talking about Northwestern in the playoff hunt. They travel. It's amazing what Northwestern can do when they don't have to play Akron and Bowling Green at the beginning of the year. They always seem to trip over one of those games, don't they?
Yeah, they really do. But this particular season, it really seems like, they're always known for their defense, which, that's only one side of the ball. But it really seems like, they can kind of move the ball on the offense side of the ball with Peyton Ramsey at quarterback. So I think this Northwestern team has a great shot of, probably being there at the end of the year in the conversation of the playoff team.
They'll be in the conversation, but then they're going to wake up and realize they're playing Ohio State in the Big Ten title game and go, oh, okay. I think maybe how about the Orange Bowl? Can we do a one-loss Northwestern in the Orange Bowl? Let's see it. All right, Northwestern goes Michigan State, 13.5-point favorites, minus 550 on the money line. The over-under is at 42. And I'll tell you what, this Northwestern, I don't think the offense is that great. It's definitely better than it was last year. Little nervous giving them a double-digit handicap here. I'm going to go with Sparty to cover in this one at plus 13.5. I think Michigan State, they don't move the ball very well. They don't do much of anything very well this year. But something tells me it's going to be cold and ugly, and I just don't. I'm not this Northwestern offense. If I thought they were going to score more than 28, I'd be happy to give them a 2-touchdown spread, but I don't know if Northwestern eclipses the 30-point mark. I'm going to take Michigan State plus 13.5.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay with the safe play on this one. I'm gonna take Northwestern on the money line. I think Pat Fitzgerald get these guys riled up and ready to go, and kind of take heed of the opportunity that they have in front of them. So I like Northwestern to win outright. I don't think they're gonna cover, but I will be safe with taking them on the money line.
Colorado goes to USC out in LA, 3:30 ABC. I'm liking these earlier Pac-12 kickoffs, by the way. I know they usually kick off. They sometimes do like 4:00 stuff. They'll do 3:30 every once in a while, but I like the noon kickoffs and everything. But I'm an East Coast guy, so I don't really care. I'm sure it's not fun waking up to play a 9 a.m. football game on the West Coast, though, but good on the Pac-12 for trying something new. Colorado is a 13.5-point underdog here. USC's minus 550 on the money line, and the over and under is at 64. Rob, this Colorado team has surprised me. I did not expect them to be sitting at 2-0 with Karl Dorrell. I think their nice little run comes to it. Their 2-game run comes to an end, though. This game will decide the South, though. So if Colorado's a little more, if they're got a little more fighting them than I think they do, and they end up pulling this game off, Colorado is going to be in the driver's seat for the Pac-12 South. Is that pretty unbelievable?
Yeah, that is saying a lot, especially with everybody that they lost, on that team, especially in the coaching staff. So I think this is definitely surprising, but I think USC is the better team. I like USC with this line, so give me USC to cover.
USC minus 13.5. I'm going to go the easier route, USC on the money line. I think Colorado is just a little bit of a wild card for me, and the Trojans have kept things interesting. Even last week, they won 33-17. They scored 6 points in the second half. So just the lack of consistency. Don't love teams who are inconsistent, giving them that many points. Speaking of a big line here, dude, Cincinnati goes to Temple, 4 p.m. ESPNU. The Bearcats are 36-point favorites. There's not even an offering on the money line for Bovada, and the over and under is at 52. Well, I'll tell you what, if you think you're going to win by 36, I'm going to say that 52 is an okay number to get to. So I'll take the over at 52 in this one.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that. I don't think Cincinnati is going to cover this line, but just like you said, I like this over. That's the thing that's jumping out to me. So give me the over in the Cincinnati game.
Are you a believer in the Bearcats for the playoff?
I'm not sure about that. They seem like they have a complete team, especially on both sides of the ball. But with that being said, I think you just look at the strength of schedule. Their strength of schedule is definitely a little bit tougher than BYU's, but I really like Zach Wilson at the quarterback position better than, Ritter with Cincinnati. So I think if we had a head-to-head matchup, I would be willing to take BYU over Cincinnati if you ask me, Nick.
Rutgers goes to Purdue at 4 p.m. on FS1. Could be a wildly entertaining game there in West Lafayette. San Jose State at Boise State, 4 p.m. on Fox in the 4 o'clock hour as well. You got Mississippi State going to Ole Miss for the Egg Bowl, first ever matchup between Leach and Lane Kiffin. Can't wait for that rivalry to get off the ground. Not sure Mississippi State has enough in the tank this year. We're not going to pick this game, Rob, but after what you saw against Mississippi State against Georgia this week, expecting a little bit more fireworks from the Bulldogs in this game?
I hope so. I mean, we kind of praised we kind of praised them, the opening week against LSU. But ever since that first game, we haven't really seen much of this, Mike Leach offense in the Mississippi State Bulldogs. But I think, Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss rolls in this one. It should be a good matchup in the future, but I think Ole Miss just have the better team. So I like Ole Miss with the points in this one.
Do you see the Mississippi State offense kicking it up in gear, though? Because Ole Miss does not have much of a defense to speak of. I'm just asking, are we going to be able to watch? Because what I hope this game morphs into over the years is like a 50-45 type of game. I want to see 100 points every time these two teams get together the next few years. So are we going to approach 100 points on Saturday with this one?
I do not think we will approach 100 points in this Saturday's matchup. I think we will be able to see 100 points probably in the near future when these two teams match up. But once again, this Mississippi State team is just off, not only on the defense side of the ball, on the offense side of the ball and the special teams. It's just completely off. And I don't know if it's due to those players opting out or
ton of players leaving.
Yeah,
right.
Just so this team is just off. So yeah. I'm not expecting Mississippi State to do anything for the rest of the year. But I think we are in store for some great matchups, in the next couple of years if Lane Kiffin was to stay at Ole Miss.
That's fair, but I'll tell you what, if you're a 2 TV in the living room type of household for college football, and I am, much to my wife's chagrin, she does not enjoy that. But this is the that might be my second TV game. That 4:00 Ole Miss Mississippi State game in that hour. I need to see at least part of that game, and we'll see if it's any good. But hopefully, there's a lot of fireworks there too. Louisville goes to Boston College to finish out the 4:00 hour. Charlotte hosts Western Kentucky at 6:00. I feel like Charlotte's had half their games canceled this year already. Texas A&M 7:00 hour. We saw a classic 7 overtime battle the last time these two teams played in Kyle Field, but they host the LSU Tigers. This time, though, the Aggies are 14-point favorites, minus 550 on the money line. The over-under is at 64. I like this Texas A&M team, obviously. We saw them play well against Florida. This LSU team, though, I don't know what they are. I don't think they have much of an identity. They're up one week. They're down another. Is this going to be an Auburn game, or are we going to see LSU come out and fight and keep it close?
I think we're going to see LSU fight and kind of keep it close. I think Ed Orgeron is going to get the team riled up, and I don't think he's going to let this be a blowout. But I think if LSU can kind of knock off Texas A&M, that might, kind of savage the season for LSU. But it's just right now, it's just so many things going on in that program. It really seems like Miles Brennan is kind of lost for the remainder of the year. And it's a lot of outside noise going on with that program, kind of similar towards Baylor. So that might be a situation that we might have to keep an eye on and see how it impacts the team on the field and off the field.
Right. So who you got in this one?
I'm going to go with Texas A&M on the money line in this one.
Texas A&M on the money line. All right. I think LSU is definitely capable of showing up and creating a fight. I wouldn't even be totally stunned to see an upset, but the Auburn game, I picked LSU to beat Auburn. That was an egg that is stuck in my head a little bit. I know LSU. I actually picked LSU last week. I lied. I picked the over-under. In another thing, I did pick LSU to beat Arkansas last week. But I think LSU is going to be up and down. They got a lot of young guys. So which LSU are we going to get Saturday will be fascinating. I'll tell you what, there's a ton of teams out there that would love for this Texas A&M team to fall. So a lot of people will be watching this game closely and rooting for LSU. I do think that the defenses, we saw LSU at times, they've been able to put up points. I do think the LSU defense has been a struggle all year. So I'm going to just stick with the over in this one at 64, even though it's a higher number than I really like. I just think this could be a really high-scoring game. Duke goes to Georgia Tech, 7:00. Finishing out the 7:00 hour, we got Kansas State at Baylor, Memphis at Navy. 7:30, SEC Network. Georgia goes to South Carolina. Not much of a game here, Rob. Mike Bobo, former Georgia quarterback, gets to face his old school where he was offensive coordinator. Bulldogs come in at 21.5-point favorites, minus 1,400 on the money line. The over-unders at 49. Hey, we saw a lot out of JT Daniels last week. South Carolina kind of looked like the same old stuff with Bobo, although they did shut down Missouri after Missouri got out to a 17-0 lead. I'm not expecting a Will Muschamp special upset here. No, I don't think we're going to get any memorials to Will Muschamp on Saturday. I like Georgia in this one, although the Mississippi State game, I can't trust them with the big points here. So I'm going to just take them on the money line, even though, as you like to say, no juice for the squeeze. So I'm going to take Georgia on the money line.
Yeah, I'm actually going to take Georgia to cover in this one. It really seems like they got their quarterback. That's why they brought JT Daniels over, and to kind of put him in the back and kind of make plays. But for some reason, that running game didn't go well with the passing game. If they can click on both cylinders with the running game and the passing game, I think it's an easy cover for Georgia. So give me Georgia to cover with this one because they still have a tremendous defense.
So that's why they brought JT Daniels over to bench him for most of the season in their two biggest games, and then to finally let him play when they were out of it.
Yeah, I'm going to go on the whim and just say, he wasn't ready. He wasn't prepared. I don't know if he was prepared physically,
Nope.
coming off the injury, or whether he was prepared mentally with the playbook or not. But I think, they were going to roll with JT Daniels for the remainder of the year, barring any injuries or any setbacks that he had with his knee. But I think this is the guy that's going to, be the forefront of the quarterback position for Georgia moving forward. And if they can get the running game going with the passing game like they should have got going last week, I think this Georgia team is going to be a tough out moving forward. But, unfortunately, they're not playing for the SEC championship or anything. So they're just going to be, getting chemistry together and gelling for next year.
Your logic's too sound. I like to think about it that they did. They waited till they were out of the race to put him in. I'm going to stick with that in my head. I prefer that line of thought. All right. Oklahoma goes to West Virginia, 7:30 ABC. We're going to finish out the college football schedule here. TCU goes to Kansas, 8 p.m. FS1. Virginia at Florida State, 8 p.m. ACC Network. Troy at Appalachian State, 8 p.m. ESPNU. Arizona at UCLA, 8 p.m. at Fox. And Nevada goes to Hawaii at 11 p.m. Sunday's game, there's the game scheduled. Utah at Arizona State. It says TBD. Think they're trying to figure out what the Sun Devil situation might be. Hey, BYU, if you got a shot, I think Utah is down the street if that game gets canceled, though. How about that one? All right. Thanks for sticking with us through the college football picks. We're going to cut over and do the NFL picks right after this. American Football Stories brought to you by Coach Paint. Coach Paint's a great tool that allows us to add graphics to player highlight clips similar to the graphics you see on TV. Coach Paint offers the ability to clearly tell a straight video while increasing retention of information in a shorter amount of time. Up your game with Coach Paint today. All right, welcome to the NFL side of the picks segment. We're going to jump right in to Turkey Day, Detroit, kicking off our Thanksgiving festivities as usual, 12:30 p.m. on CBS. The Lions are 3-point underdogs to the Houston Texans. Houston is minus 150 on the money line. The over-unders at 51.5. Nice win for Houston against New England this past weekend, Rob. Detroit's been in a bit of a tailspin here. I gotta say, man, I'm a little disappointed with this Lions season. This was a team I was hoping to see take a step forward. I know there's been talks about Matt Patricia and his job status. I think it could be fair, but there's like a little ounce of hope with Detroit every year. Or am I tying that too much to Matt Stafford and just thinking they should be better?
Yeah, I think you're just tying that to Matthew Stafford. We all know Matthew Stafford's the gunslinger. He's probably one of the toughest quarterbacks that we have in the league. But at the end of the day, you know, you get him weapons, and actually he has weapons, but then on the defense side of the ball, you don't help him out. So I think this Lions team has always kind of been one of those teams that's never been a complete all-around team. They've had great pieces, but they can never put it together. And I think that's the sad part about it. But once again, I think Deshaun Watson is an excellent quarterback, and you see him get back in the win column with the win over Detroit. So I like Houston Texans to cover in this one.
Houston -3. Yeah, is there any truth to Detroit playing a little tougher on Thanksgiving, or is that just something that just seems that way?
I think we just see them play on Thanksgiving every year, so it kind of seems that way. But I think Deshaun Watson is definitely going to try to go out, and I know they do the turkey leg after for the most valuable player of the game, and I think Deshaun Watson is definitely going to get that turkey leg.
I just watched the Lions get shut out. That'll be fun to see him eat that turkey leg. It'll be bigger in his arms, man. It'll be bigger in his arms. Houston can score some points, but Detroit, I just saw them get shut out by Carolina this weekend. I'm a little skeptical about the Lions, so I'm going to go under 51.5 on that one. So I'll take the under. All right, let's go Washington, Dallas, in a pivotal, and I'm not even being sarcastic about it, actually pivotal NFC East matchup. Everybody in the NFC East has 3 wins. That tie is keeping Philadelphia top the division at 3-6-1. Everyone else is sitting at 3-7. Alex Smith gets his first win since 2018 this past weekend. The Washington football team is a 3-point underdog at Dallas with the fighting Andy Dalton's at -60 on the money line, and the over-unders at 46.5 in this one. I like what I saw from both of these teams last weekend, quite frankly. The Washington played a little sloppier against Cincinnati. Dallas just shocked the hell out of me with that win up against a hot Minnesota team. I think a lot of people are going to be picking the Cowboys in this one, but why am I nervous about that, Rob?
Because the Cowboys are the Cowboys, Nick. But I'm one of those people that's going to be picking the Cowboys this week. Just like you said, they went up to Minnesota and got a great win, and a hot team that's kind of been trending. I know, they kind of stepped up on the defense side of ball late in that game. But Andy Dalton kind of had his weapons in sync with CeeDee Lamb, and Ezekiel Elliott went over 100 yards. So if that offense can kind of put points up on the board, and if the defense can kind of play, bend don't break defense, I think this Cowboys team can get a win. Definitely against Washington. And I know Alex Smith has kind of been, the comeback kid of the century with his injury that he had and coming back and just, throwing the ball around the field. But I think Dallas is still the better team, even with all his woes that it's having all year. So give me Dallas with the spread in this one.
Dallas at -3. I'm going to go head up against you and take Washington at +3. I've seen enough from this team. They like to fight, they hang around in different games, and I definitely don't trust Dallas. So I'm going to go Washington. Give me, if you was Dallas as the dog, I take Dallas. I take whoever you give me the points with in this one. I'll take Washington +3. Baltimore at Pittsburgh on Thursday night, Thanksgiving night. And we've talked about this a little bit on our weekend podcast here, Rob. This is a super critical game for the Ravens. You're now at 6-4. You've fallen behind Cleveland in the standings. I'll repeat that. The Baltimore Ravens, it's heading into December. It's Thanksgiving night, and the Baltimore Ravens are behind the Cleveland Browns by a full game in the standings. Huge loss for them against Tennessee this past weekend. Pittsburgh sitting up there 10-0, enjoying a perfect start with Ben Roethlisberger back in the saddle this year. Hey, look, I know Pittsburgh's not feeling sorry for Baltimore, and if you get an opportunity to step on their throats, you got to do it here. I think Baltimore's going to come out. They're going to give it everything they got in this game. I think this is going to be an absolute dogfight, but some years it's your year and some years it's not. Things are going Pittsburgh's way this year. Give me the Steelers on the money line, even though they've had some so-so performances the last couple of weeks. I think they've slept-walked a little bit between the Dallas and Jacksonville games.
Yeah, just like you said, this was definitely a game that I kind of, circled and said this is a must win for Baltimore, especially kind of how the season's been going the last couple of games. They suffer a tough loss to Tennessee in overtime this past week, and, they need the win. But, reports coming out saying that they would be without J.K. Dobbins and Mark Ingram. So I don't know how that's going to fit within their offensive scheme. Is it going to be put more pressure on Lamar Jackson to kind of throw the ball downfield? If so, then I give the edge to Pittsburgh. But I think Pittsburgh wins this game. So give me Pittsburgh with the points in this one.
All right. Pittsburgh to cover the 4.5 point spread here. Sorry, my computer's freezing up. All right. Pittsburgh -4.5. All right. Let's go to Sunday at 1 o'clock. Vegas travels to Atlanta. Hey, Vegas, heartbreaking loss there against the Chiefs. You almost had it. Jason Witten almost had a winning touchdown catch against Kansas City on Sunday night. That would have been a great story. This Raiders team, they're very much in the thick of the AFC playoff hunt. They very much need this win. But Atlanta's one of those teams that makes you nervous. They never are what they think you're going to be. I thought they were going to give the Saints a little bit of a tougher push than they did last week, but that Saints defense just shut them down, held them to 9 points. I'm gonna stick with Vegas. I think Vegas got the hot hand in this one. 3-point favorites, -160 on the money line. The over-unders at 55.5. I'm gonna stick with the Raiders to keep the hot hand though and find a way to win. But this one, I think it's gonna be close. Vegas on the money line.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I really thought the Raiders was going to pull that game out this past week against Kansas City Chiefs, but they just kind of ran into the best quarterback in the NFL right now, Patrick Mahomes. And that's what kind of happened. So I don't think, the Raiders can hang their hats on that one. They kind of split. They beat them early in the year and they lost that one. But I think they get this win against Atlanta Falcons. This Falcons team has kind of been up and down all year long, and they might be without the services of Julio Jones. So if that's the case, I'm definitely leaning toward this Raiders team. But I'm actually going to take the points. I'm going to lay the points with the Raiders.
Showing some confidence. Maybe did Derek Carr staring into your soul, going all over Twitter, give you the confidence to do that?
I think it's the actual Derek Carr to Waller matchup that's giving me that confidence. It really just seems like they're the connection that they're having is growing week in and week out, and I think he's going to be a key part of their offense moving forward, especially with Josh Jacobs running the ball in the backfield. And it really seems like, they have a guy on the outside, and Nelson Aguilar, who's been winning one-on-one matchups all year long. So it really seems like, they have the pieces, and it's coming together, and they're playing tough ball on the defense side of the ball. So I'm really liking this Vegas Raiders team.
We didn't prep for this question, so I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, but why is Aguilar working out so well why is he working out so well in Vegas when he did not work out very well in Philly?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I mean, I know if you look at Nelson Aguilar coming out of college at USC, he didn't lack the talent. I think, one thing that you can really say about Nelson Aguilar was like, he had a lot of drops, and it was a lot of concentration drops that, he just really wasn't, tucking the ball and bringing the ball into his body. But I think he had a lot of things going on in Philly, and, with the fans in Philly, it can definitely be hard on a player, especially a young player. So I think, just the movement and the transition of him going to a different team, I think it helped out a lot. And once again, it's a COVID year, so it's not a lot of fans in the stands. So I think he's just going out there and playing ball, and it's working for him this year.
Yeah, maybe sometimes change the scenery does the trick altogether. So that could totally be the case. All right, let's go down to out to Buffalo. The Bills hosting the Los Angeles Chargers. I'll tell you what, I know you've been high on Justin Herbert. They looked great on the offense against the Jets last week. Herbert's generating a lot of chatter, but that defense, it gives up a few points every now and then. I'm not sure I like this Chargers defense matching up against Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills here. I like the Bills at home. I think they're going to cover this 5.5 point spread, minus 250 on the money line, and the over unders at 54.5. Give me Buffalo minus 5.5.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. San Diego traveling across country to play the Buffalo Bills. I really don't know what the weather forecast is entailed for. I don't know if it's going to be cold or, but
that's not LA weather.
Yeah, it's definitely not LA weather. So I know Justin Herbert is having an offensive rookie of the year type season, but I think Buffalo is just on a mission. I think we talked about Buffalo in a year not being one of the elite teams, and it really seems like they're actually moving in the right direction to be one of those elite teams. And Baltimore is kind of trending down. So I'm actually putting Buffalo ahead of Baltimore right now, and I think they come out with the win. So give me Buffalo on the money line.
Buffalo on the money line. Yeah, I'm with you on that, by the way. I think Buffalo slots ahead of Baltimore now for sure. The New York Giants, also critical game here for the Giants traveling to Cincinnati. People are confident. 6-point favorites. Of course, Joe Burrow does go down. Saw today in the news, confirmed ACL, MCL tears. Such sad news for the Bengals. I was absolutely loving Burrow there. They need to get the guy some protection for next year. Promising career, though, from what we've seen from Joe Burrow in 2020, Rob.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hate to see the injury. It's definitely part of the game. You hate it for a rookie, and he was just having a tremendous year. I mean, it wasn't translating into wins, but you can just see that, he was poised to be the number one, pick in that particular draft. And he was doing really well, especially with the leadership on the field and off the field. So you just hate to see that injury for Joe Burrow, but he's definitely going to bounce back. And just like you said, they definitely have to beef up that offensive line, whether they do it with draft or whether they do it through free agency or whatever, to kind of keep Joe Burrow up front. But just going on this game, I really like Daniel Jones and how he played last game. And I think he keeps that going. I think you see Daniel Jones do a lot more the RPO and the read option, which kind of helps him kind of settle into his zone while, dropping back and throwing the ball. So I like the Giants with the points in this one.
I'm done with Philly. I'm done talking about Philly at all this season. They've been a huge disappointment. This is my team right here to win the East. I think this Giants team, they've showed some life. They've been competitive even when they're losing. I think of their early season. I mean, they went to Chicago. They played tough. They played tough in a lot of games this season, and I think maybe this is a young team that's just finding ways to win. You get a nice schedule bump here with Cincinnati. Got to take advantage of it. I don't trust the Giants. I don't trust them, but I'll take them on the money line. So that's an easy pick for me right there. Ryan Finley starting for Cincinnati, by the way. Did you take the Giants to cover? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I took the Giants to cover. I'm going to go with Danny Dimes in this one.
Danny Dimes.
I think he gets the job done, especially with the Joe Burrow-less Cincinnati Bengals team.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough finish for the Bengals, and definitely alters Cincinnati. One of those teams that were kind of like they were tough out. They weren't winning a lot of games, but they were definitely a tough out week in and week out with Burrow. I think we're going to see them revert back to the 2019 version of the Bengals the rest of the year. Tennessee goes to Indianapolis in a crucial AFC South matchup. The Colts are 4-point favorites, minus 210 on the money line. Over unders on 51. Hey, in the last month, the Colts stock has gone way, way up, and the Titans has dropped. But the Titans recovered on Sunday. Nice win against Baltimore. I'll tell you, I'm still skeptical about this Indianapolis team. I know they beat the Packers, but I'm a little skeptical about Green Bay, if I'm being honest. So it's a nice win for the Colts. We've also seen the Colts drop games to Cleveland. We've seen the Colts drop games to Jacksonville. I'm maybe the Colts are finally coming together and they're just on a little hot streak here. But even if they make the playoffs, which it's looking like they probably will at this point, they're a first round team. I don't see them really making a deep run in the playoffs. Whereas this Titans team, we saw them make the deep run last year. I think there's a lot of scrappy fighters on that team, and they're 4-point dogs in this one. I was thinking about doing the points, but I think I'm just going to take the Titans straight up on the money line. I'm that confident that they're going to find a way to win.
Yeah, I'm definitely going with the Titans in this one, but I'm going to take the Titans with the points. And the reason why this Colts team has kind of been playing well the last couple of weeks is because of Phillip Rivers. If Phillip Rivers doesn't turn the ball over, this Colts team can go really, really deep in the playoffs, especially with that defense and the running game. If Jonathan Taylor doesn't fumble and Phillip Rivers doesn't turn the ball over through the air, I think this Colts team is very respectable. They have a good offensive line with Quentin Nelson. They have pieces on the outside, especially with the rookie that's coming into his own and Michael Pittman. So I think they can definitely beat teams, and we've kind of seen that in the last couple of weeks. So Phillip Rivers can kind of stay upright and not turn the ball over. This Colts team is really, really good, but I really just like this Titans team, and with Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill and all the weapons that he has on the offense side of the ball.
So earlier in the season, we heard all about the Colts defense, and I wasn't a believer in that because I didn't think their strength of schedule wasn't very good. They weren't playing awesome teams early on. And I'd call that out. And I think that's what really planted the seeds of my Colts skepticism this season. But it's like you said, when the offense is clicking, this is a good football team. So do you see this as more of an offensive football team than a defensive football team halfway through the season here? Much more than halfway, 10 games in.
I see it as a defensive team, but I think when the offense doesn't turn the ball over, it helps the defense out, and that defense can kind of sit on the sideline and rest a little bit more. But I do think the strength of this team is definitely on the defense side of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, certainly a lot of good players there, but if this is going to be a team that's going to rise up, win the division, I think it is. I think that offense needs to play a big role. So it is interesting to see the evolution a little bit of this Colts team, but big game Sunday. We'll see if it even matters to have this conversation. We'll see how it goes Sunday. All right, Carolina goes to Minnesota, fresh off a shutout of Detroit, and for some reason, Vegas doesn't like the Panthers. They're 4.5-point underdogs. Minnesota lost to Dallas on Sunday. Definitely fell out of the playoff race, I would say, with that loss. Over under is at 48.5, and Minnesota is minus 220 on the money line. I think the Vikings are probably the smarter pick on this one, but I liked what I saw from PJ Walker, and that defense definitely impressed me last week. So I'm going to go with Carolina to cover in this one at plus 4.5. We've seen some tough performances out of them since that Chiefs game.
Yeah, we have. This Panthers team has kind of been, scrappy all year long, especially with all its starters out. I don't think, Christian McCaffrey is going to be back for this one, nor Teddy Bridgewater. And I think, Vikings losing to the Cowboys last week is definitely going to leave a sour taste in their mouth, because that's one that they should have had. So I think they go out and they play exceptionally well. And I'm not too confident in for them to cover, but I will take them on the money line. And it really seems like they're not going to have Adam Thielen in this one. So I'm definitely going to take them to not to cover, but take them on the money line in this one.
Come back, Adam Thielen. I need you for my fantasy team. There's a lot of people out there probably trying to close out their seasons that need that guy. Put up 30 points this week, man, in my league. Unbelievable. Great catch in the back of the end zone, too. Arizona at New England, 1 p.m. on Fox. Cardinals, 2.5-point favorites, minus 135 on the money line. Over under is at 49.5. Over under is at 49.5. Arizona's been one of the most fun teams to watch all year, but what we saw from New England last Sunday is a reason why you should consider them a complete enigma, because we see them play well, we see them fall off, we see them have good quarters, they have bad quarters. They are all over the place, and it wouldn't surprise me in the least if the Patriots just play a hell of a game and win this one. But I'm going to go with what we've seen as a whole. I'm going to say the Cardinals come out, they put a little pressure on that New England defense. They find ways to score. It might be an ugly win, but I do think Arizona gets the win, and it's a pretty small spread. So give me the Cardinals at minus 2.5.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you. I'm not going to take the Cardinals with the points, but I will take the Cardinals on the money line. I really don't think, the Patriots defense have an answer for Kyler Murray. So I think Kyler Murray is going to have a field day running the ball. So I really like the Cardinals on the money line in this one.
New England's just missing so many pieces that it's almost not even interesting to talk about what this year means to the Patriots, because I think it's an absolute write-off this season, right?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Once again, we know they had the opt-outs before the year. They kind of been banged up, all year long with we had a nasty injury with Rex Burkhead last week. I don't know if you caught that injury he kind of went down with the knee injury, leg injury. So, he's another key element of that offense that's going to be missing. So I just think this Arizona Cardinals defense, they have pieces so they can get the job done on that regards. And I think, Kyler Murray on the offense side of the ball is just a handful. So I really like, Arizona to win this game outright. So Arizona money line in this one.
All right, let's go to the AFC East. We'll stick in the AFC East, really. I think that this Miami Dolphins team, they created a little too much of a stir with Fitzpatrick coming in for Tua on Sunday. But Tua was struggling a little bit. Flores says he wants to give the offensive shot. Tua is going to start again this week. So Flores already announced it. He's going to start this week against the Jets. Hey, he's got a game to get his confidence back or whatever. But again, I don't think this kid's hurting for confidence. But Miami shook me a little bit. I expected this team. I'm a believer in this Dolphins team. I'm a believer in what Flores is building. I did not expect a loss in Denver last week. This Jets team, they're probably going to win a game, even though it seems unbelievable. They showed some signs of life against the Chargers last week. I picked them to cover. They did, thanks to a late safety. Did you see that?
Yeah.
They did. Late meaningless safety. They ended up covering on that. But, yeah, man, you just watch this team and dumb mistakes over and over again. This Jets team, it's borderline unwatchable when they're on. But I'm going to go with Miami on the money line. I think 7 points is too much to cover. Over under is at 44.5. But the Jets are probably going to get a win somewhere along the line. Do you think this is the week, Rob?
I do not think this is the week. Actually, I think this is the week for Tua to have his big breakout game, kind of like you've seen what Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert had so far. I think, he kind of took the benching a little personally, not so much in a bad way, but in a good way to say, hey, I'm going to come here prepared. I'm actually going to come in and play a little bit better. And I think he gets the job done this week. So give me Dolphins with the points. Give me Dolphins with the points in this one.
Miami -7. All right. Showing some confidence in Tua. I like it. Cleveland goes to Jacksonville, 1 p.m. on Fox. And hey, Cleveland, you're 7-3. You're ahead of the Ravens. Do not lose this game. I feel like the Browns are my new pep talk team. Figure out a way to handle your business here. Jake Luton definitely came back to earth last week for Jacksonville. Not that he was astronomically good, but I thought he played pretty well for a guy who you weren't expecting to play at all this season. But this Jaguars team, I think it's in free fall in Jacksonville right now. I think you got a lot of guys on the way out the door that won't be around for 2021. And I'm not expecting a strong finish to this season. The Browns make me a little nervous with any spread, but they're 6.5-point favorite in this game, -290 on the money line, over unders at 49. I'm going to take Cleveland to cover the spread. They've done enough. They keep taking care of business and at least winning the games they should win for the most part. And I think this is definitely in that category. So give me Cleveland, probably going to win by 10+.
Yeah, I definitely like Cleveland in this game, especially when you get Nick Chubb back and he's hurling guys, and then Kareem Hunt comes in and he's hurling guys, and it seems like they're going back and forth to say, hey, who can stiff arm which defender, who can jump over which defender, and they're having fun with it. It's relieving a lot of pressure off of Baker Mayfield. So I think this Cleveland team is definitely on a roll right now. I know they're going to be without the services of Myles Garrett on the defense side, but they won't need them as much with Jake Luton, in the Jacksonville offense. So I think Cleveland gets the job done. So give me Cleveland with the points in this one.
New Orleans goes to Denver, 4:05 p.m. on Fox. The Saints are 6-point favorites over the Broncos, -260 on the money line. Over under is at 43.5. Taysom Hill looked good in his first start. I'll tell you what, he's definitely, he's no Drew Brees, but not many people are. But we saw what he can do with his legs. He ran 10 times for 51 yards, got 2 TDs on the ground. He could put the ball where it's supposed to be. He could get the job done and play effective football. This New Orleans defense, when they play well, they're one of the better defenses in the league, in my opinion. I like this matchup for New Orleans. I'm a little nervous about the cover, though, just because we see what Denver did last week with Miami. Denver at home. Maybe it snows and the indoor Saints, maybe they're not used to it. I don't know. There could be a lot of things that go on out there at Denver. So I'm going to take the Saints to win the game, but I'm not so confident in the 6-point spread. So give me the Saints at -260 on the money line.
Yeah, once again, Saints on the roll in Denver with the Mile High. Taysom Hill, great performance in his debut. But once again, I like the Saints defense, but playing in that Mile High and that high altitude out there in Denver, it just kind of does something to you. So I'm going to take the safe play with Saints on the money line, but I do think they have the opportunity to cover.
Next 2 games, we're going to be leaving 2 games off our picks this week because the spreads are not out because actually the game just started here while we're recording. Tampa Bay is playing the Los Angeles Rams right now. So their spreads for next week are not quite out yet. San Francisco goes to LA, play the Rams, 4:00 on Fox, and big game next week, Kansas City at Tampa Bay, 4:25 on CBS. Rob, this LA Rams team in the thick of it with the Seahawks in the NFC West. Tampa Bay obviously needs to keep pace. We talked about that game a little bit the other day, so we won't waste time talking about it now. I want to know what you think about the Rams going up against the 49ers next week, because I said it weeks ago, probably about a month and a half ago, I started bailing on the 49ers. I just looked at the schedule. I was looking at the injuries pile up. I didn't think they could sustain it. And they proved me wrong for a couple weeks, but the injuries crept back up. Kittle's gone. Garoppolo's gone. I think this Niners team's in the dream for the rest of the year. I think the Rams will have no problem handling San Francisco on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. San Francisco just has way too many injuries, and this Ram team is peaking at the right time, and they're playing good ball on both sides of the ball, offense and the defense side of the ball. So I think they're just going to be too much for the 49ers, and they go off with the win. So give me Rams with the points in that one.
How about Tampa Bay and Kansas City? Give me your thoughts on that game next week.
Probably one of the biggest games that we've seen all year. Definitely going to be a preview for a Super Bowl matchup that we might see later on in next year. So I think this is going to be a great game. I really like Tampa Bay in this one. I think Tampa Bay just have the better defense. So I'm going to roll with the team that has the better defense and the team that can also put up points, and that's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I really like Tampa in that one.
Hey, Tampa's certainly capable. I have all the respect in the world for them. I think they're good, but there's something about that Saints game that's just gnawing at me. I still can't explain that. I can't explain a little bit of it. The offensive line, not so good. And I think that this Bucs team is chewing up competition that's clearly below it, but when they get on the field with someone that can push them a little bit, you're seeing that they are vulnerable at times. The Chiefs are going to be ready for everybody's best shot this year. Going to be fired up to come down and play Tom Brady. Mahomes is locked in. I like the Chiefs to beat the Bucs in this game. The Bucs need to prove it to me that they could show up game in, game out for these big games. So Tampa Bay probably going to fall to Kansas City, but let's hope for a classic matchup. Let's hope for Brady dealing at his best. Let's hope for a great game. And hey, if this is a Super Bowl, if this ends up being the Super Bowl in Tampa Bay, I don't think many people around the country will complain because I think that'd be a fun game to watch. That'd be a fun game to watch. So hopefully that Bucs defense can step up. But have you seen a single defense that could totally shut down Mahomes?
Yeah, I haven't seen it so far.
Yep. Me neither.
I mean, we've seen San Francisco to a certain extent kind of do it, especially in the first half
for stretches. Yeah, for stretches.
But for a whole game, we still haven't seen a team that can shut down Patrick Mahomes for a full game.
Hell, we saw it last night with Vegas, right? Like they shut him down for part of the game. They shut him down for part of the game with Vegas, and then boy, I don't know though. I don't know. That's pretty weak. That's I think the Tampa defense. It's amazing that you can't even count on a defense that good to go up against Mahomes. I mean, I said that's pretty weak. I meant to say that's Mahomes is just that good that you can't count on. I think Tampa's got one of the better defenses in the league as well, and it's pretty. It shows how offensive minded the game of football is today, right? So that one of the better defenses in the league, you feel like, oh, they're going to give up at some point. Mahomes is like Golden State. The scoring is going to come at some point. All right, Chicago goes to Green Bay, 8:20 NBC Sunday Night Football. The Packers are 8.5-point favorites. Over under is at 45, and Chicago struggles to score points. Green Bay generally does not. I know the Packers been a little sloppy the last few weeks. I don't care. I'm not big on this Bears team. I thought they were frauds early on. They've proven to be frauds. Pack minus 8.5. I have no problem taking them with that spread.
Yeah, me either. Normally this is definitely it's still a rivalry game, but I don't think the rivalry is there this year. Just like you said, Chicago struggles putting points up on the board, and Green Bay doesn't. And I know Green Bay suffered a tough loss this past week against the Colts, but the Colts is a good team. And I tell you what, Chicago is not a good team. So I like the Packers to roll in this one. So give me the Packers with the points.
Monday Night Football next week, Seattle at Philly. Seahawks 5.5-point favorites, minus 250 on the money line. The over-under is at 51. And I'll tell you what, Rob, I would take the Seahawks and the points if it were like Alabama playing Auburn this weekend. If the Seahawks were 24.5-point favorites, I'd still take the Seahawks. Philly, I've been talking you up. You let me down week after week. Wentz, what's going on with that offense? I can't figure it out. The Eagles just seem to be so depleted this year. I think Philly is going to just fade away. You're going to see the Giants rise up, win the East, or the Cowboys, or not Philly. I think this Philly team, I'm not a believer. They've had every chance to fix it this year, and it's the same old crap week in and week out. And hey, Eagles fans, I'm saying it with you because I was a believer that you guys were going to get it together at some point. I'm just off the train at this point. Seahawks cover minus 5.5, no problem.
Yeah, I'm taking Seahawks all day in this one. Russell Wilson is just too much. I know he's kind of been not playing, fairly well the last couple of weeks, but I think he's getting it back up into gear. And this Eagles team is just horrible on both sides of the ball. Carson Wentz is just turning the ball over at a highest clip ever. I think I read a stat that, he has double-digit interceptions this year, and the highest interception he's ever had in his previous years was 7 or 8. So definitely Carson Wentz is definitely not playing some of his best ball of his career. So with that being the case, I like the Seattle to roll in this one. So give me Seattle with the points.
Yeah, good points all around on that one. All right, well, that's the conclusion of all the games coming up this weekend. We're a little earlier in the week than we like to be. You're not fully up on injury news, a little bit of speculation here, but hey, we're pretty in tune with what's going on. I think not a terrible amount's going to change between now and Sunday. And if it does, then oh well, it's 2020. Suck it up. We missed a few games. Sorry about that. But hey, it's Thanksgiving. We're still playing football. And I got to tell you, I'm thankful as hell that college football and pro football figured out a way to make it happen, because since they've been back, as weird as life still is, Rob, football has normalized life a little bit, at least for me, and I'm extremely thankful for that. How have you enjoyed the football season so far?
Yeah, even with the ups and downs of the pandemic and the COVID year, with games being canceled and postponed, just like you said, at the end of the day, it's football. It's the game that you grew up playing, and it's the game you grew up loving. So it's great to have it back, and great to have some sense of normalcy where you can kind of watch football all day Saturday and watch football all day Sunday. So I think it's great having football back. But hopefully it can continue to remain, and hopefully we can get these numbers down as far as the COVID cases spiking. So hopefully we can continue to see football through the Super Bowl and have a great Super Bowl. So I'm ready to just keep watching, and hopefully we can have some good games for the rest of the year.
Yeah, you got a ton of games this week. Enjoy your turkey and football, Rob. You're staying up in New Jersey for that, right?
Yeah, definitely staying up in New Jersey for the holidays. I know you're going to be down in the Tampa area for the holidays. So
Yes,
definitely just thankful for, not only our audience, but this podcast, and definitely thankful for football being back.
Yeah, man, it's been a fun couple months. And for those of you that have found the podcast and are listening in, we got a lot more to come that we're going to be building on in the off season. Just a little heads up, we're going to be pretty heavy into the NFL draft in the off season. We will cover the NFL playoffs, but we've talked about it. We do want it to go a little heavier on the college football going forward, and we'll get into that more at a later date, but just giving a heads up to some of our listeners that the college football angle is probably something that is going to be something that's going to be more featured going forward. But we're going to finish out through the NFL season, through the playoffs, through the Super Bowl, and it's been a fun ride so far. It's been a cool experience, and this is something that I know Rob and I have talked about. This is something we've wanted to do for years individually. We got together this year and got it done. Really, thanks to being locked up, right? Little bit of silver lining in being locked up, right? Gives us the extra time to actually do this.
Yeah, definitely being quarantined definitely gave us the extra time to do this and kind of shape everything out and kind of line everything out. But it's only the tip of the iceberg for us, Nick. I think we have a lot in store, just like you mentioned earlier, to our audience and our fans. So so just expect a lot of us moving forward to our audience.
Yeah, we're coming up with some we're going to come up with some interesting angles here, especially heading into the off season. We will be a year-round podcast, so we'll be with you through all of the playoff run for college football here and the playoff run for the NFL, and then we're not going to take any big breaks or anything like that in the off season. So stick with us, share our podcast with a friend. We're particularly going to beef stuff up on YouTube. I know this isn't a video, but we will start getting more videos out there too on YouTube. Rob, that's all I got for tonight. I'm gonna read a quick sponsor hit for Coach Paint, and then I'll throw it over to you for a readout. All right. American Football Stories is brought to you by Coach Paint. Coach Paint is a great tool that allows us to add graphics to player highlight clips, similar to the graphics you see on TV. Coach Paint offers the ability to clearly tell a straight video while increasing retention of information in a shorter amount of time. Up your game with Coach Paint today. All right, and obviously we're grateful for our sponsor, Coach Paint, as well. So, Rob, happy Thanksgiving, buddy, and happy Thanksgiving to all of our listeners out there.
Yeah, same to you, Nick. Happy Thanksgiving, and the same to our listeners. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone out there. Once again, we appreciate you listening to this episode of American Football Stories. You can find us on Apple Podcasts and YouTube. Please subscribe and rate us 5 stars. Follow us on Twitter at American FB Stories, and check out our website, AmericanFootballStories.com. Once again, my name is Robert Parker III, and my co-host, Nick Newsom. Thank you, and have a happy holidays.
You play to win the game. Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it. That's the great thing about sports. You play to win. And I don't care if you don't have any wins. You go play to win. When you start telling me it doesn't matter, then retire. Get out. Because it matters.
I hope there's Bigfoot. I don't think there is. The reason I don't think there is because we found bones of dinosaurs and everything else, but we haven't found bones that I've heard of Bigfoot.
I'm very upset. We shouldn't have been in the ball game with fast field goal. The coach had sent him in. We shouldn't have sent him in. That's a dang coaching mistake. The kids are playing their tail off, and the coaches are screwing it up.
We just got to stop that little inside trap. You know, the option didn't hurt us much. We played pretty hard. We just got to stop that inside thing. Offensively, we kind of sputtered around, got the ball in the end zone. You know, defensively, we got to get out off the field on that 2-minute drive.
Injuries to your offensive line. What do you do in the second half?
Oh, we're just going to play. We just got to keep playing.
Thank you, Coach.
He has a magnificent personality, I'll tell you.
We receive a lot of mail during the course of the season, and a lot of it's good mail, a lot of it's bad. And one of the
I would say that most of it is good, though, isn't it, Bill?
Yeah, I think so.
I'd say 95 to 98% of the mail we get is always good.
But the one question that keeps coming up where Woody Hayes' name is involved, they say you're a man of no mercy. And yet,
you know, frankly, I don't care much what they think.